If you haven't ever tuned in, thank you for joining me tonight. I do these videos now every Thursday night with a different cocktail and a different appetizer recipe. So today we are doing Ginataang Kalabasa, which is a squash and coconut, and I'm doing it in the form of hummus. So it's a great dip. You can use it as a spread on a sandwich. And we had some difficulties here with my blender extension, but hopefully you can see what I'm doing. But I actually usually like to start with my drink, and the drink I'm making tonight is a summer shandy. So if no one has had a shandy before, it's usually lemonade and beer. It's easy enough to get lemonade in a can or at the store, but I always try and make the drinks a little bit healthier. So we're making the best homemade lemonade. And rather than sugar, we're using honey. Yes, sugar, yes, honey is sugar, but it's a little bit more natural. I think it adds a little bit more depth of flavor, and I'm using a little bit less sugar than most lemonades call for. So, if you follow me on Instagram, you saw earlier today that I was making this simple syrup. So I made a lemon zest honey simple syrup. Yes. Oh, no. So I have here a half a cup of water with about 1/4 cup of honey. If you'd like it sweeter, you can add a little bit more, but I just did a 1/4 cup of honey, and then I boiled it on the stove until all the honey was really dissolved and it became one equal kind of liquid. And then I added the zest of 3 lemons. So you can see here, my lemons are already zested, and then that sat for 30 minutes. So that's why I made it before the video. And so we'll pour that simple syrup in, and then we're gonna actually juice these 3 lemons. So I'll cut them in half. And the zest, if you've watched my videos before, I know that I have mentioned this, and the zest actually has a ton more nutrition, so don't want to let that zest go to waste. If you're ever just juicing the lemons, make sure to zest them. And I'm just squeezing the juice right in here, but make sure to zest them and save that zest either in little ice cube trays or in a packet in the freezer or in the refrigerator if you plan to use them. There's so much nutrition in that, and you don't want it to just go to waste. So there's a lot of fiber, a lot of vitamin C, a ton of vitamin C, and this is gonna be so fresh tasting, and it's gonna be incomparable to the lemonade that you had from the store. That's just sugary, a lot of artificial flavorings. Lemons are so easy to keep around the house and add fresh to any of your dishes. And then you can always serve the lemonade with fresh lemon slices in it as well. If you have a clear pitcher, it will look beautiful. I have this clay pitcher here. So we're gonna do the juice of 3 lemons, and then we're gonna add 3 cups of water. And there you go, you have your lemonade. Super simple. The great thing is you can put this in a pitcher and just have it sitting out so adults and kids can enjoy this. And then for the adults that wanted a little bit of an alcoholic beverage, we'll make the shandy. And for the shandy, you can usually use like a lager or any kind of like pale ale, a wheat beer. So I'm using a wheat beer today. It's a local beer here in the Philippines. It's called Sunstoked, and it's an easy drinking blonde ale, and it has a pinch of citrus. So you can just go to the store and find whatever beer looks good to you. But I do recommend like a lighter ale, a citrusy beer, or lager. So we're gonna add the water into this mixture of lemon and simple syrup. We do want a little bit of sugar or it's gonna be too bitter. And we'll just pour about half the beer into the cup. We don't need to be technical about this. Half the beer into the cup there. The nice thing is this will let your beer last longer. If you are day drinking, you're sitting out by the pool, you want a little refreshing carbonation, but you don't want too much alcohol, this is a great option. You can split a beer with a friend, and so you're getting a little less sugar than normal lemonade, but you still get that bit of beer flavor and carbonation. And then we'll just fill the other half with the lemonade. And there you go, you can see it, it's a beautiful color. It's a little lighter than a normal beer, and it's a homemade summer shandy. So cheers. Delicious. It's so delicious. All right, so now we're gonna start on the hummus. And I thought that this was a kind of a fun beer pairing because hummus is sometimes a little bit heavier. It doesn't go as well with wines, but it's a great appetizer to have sitting out with veggies and tortillas in the summer. So we're gonna use a can of chickpeas. I just have a really small food processor over here, so I've already made it here, and this is just a little bit left over from the can. So we're putting these chickpeas in. You can pre-boil them if you want. It will make them a little bit easier to blend up. And I think it's nice just to leave the liquid from the can right in there and you boil that up a bit. Or if you're in a hurry, you can just drain them, rinse the chickpeas, and put them right into the food processor. You don't have to cook them at all beforehand. And then I have the squash. And this is, I know that orange squash is usually like a winter vegetable in the US, so you can always use carrots as well, and if you roast the carrots, it adds great flavor, so those are interchangeable. But here in the Philippines, we have great squash all year round. So all I did was roast this at 350, and you can even boil it if you wanted to as well, but I think it adds kind of like a nice caramelization if you roast it. Roasted it at 350 for about 30 minutes until it became soft. And I'll add that in there. And then this is kind of the unique part. Rather than adding a tahini, which is normally in hummus, and of course squash isn't normally in hummus either, traditional hummus, I'm adding some coconut milk. So this is kind of the Filipino spin on it. And this is just fresh coconut milk. You can get it made at like at any grocery store in town, or even at like a standard market. But if you're in the US, of course, you can always get canned coconut milk. So I'm gonna add that in there, and I'm gonna blend that up a little bit before I add the olive oil. So we're gonna blend this here. And you can see it's really thick. Well, I'm sorry, hopefully you can see it. If you can't see it, it's really thick. Now this is where the olive oil comes in. So you can do it to your liking. If you want it thicker, go ahead and add a bit more olive oil. If you don't want it so thick, or if you want it thinner, just add a bit more olive oil. I'm just gonna do a quick drizzle. I really like my hummus kind of thick. It's great for dipping and spreading. That looks wonderful. It's a great consistency. It looks like normal hummus that you would get at the grocery store. And then I just drizzled a little bit of olive oil and I topped it with some chili powder. So if you wanted it nice and a little bit of a kick, a little spicy, and some pumpkin seeds on top to add a nice little crunch. And there you can see it. And I have carrots, cucumbers, peppers, whole wheat tortillas. All I did was cut these up and put them in the toaster oven for a minute, and they're nice and crunchy and healthier than tortilla chips or even than like the fried pita chips that you'll usually get. So I'll dip that in, give it a taste. Sweet. You can taste the garbanzo beans, a little bit spicy. This is a perfect appetizer to be sitting outside on your porch enjoying a summer afternoon with some summer shandy. So I hope you enjoyed this, and please share it with friends if you'd like it, and I'll see you next week. Cheers.